Well, hello everyone, it's Sheila back again. I'm sitting here this afternoon. It's now just after 4:30 Saturday afternoon, and I'm having a well-earned rest, doing a little bit knitting and a cup of coffee. I've had my 3 great-grandkids and their dad here most of the day from before lunch. They just left not long ago because their mum, my granddaughter Cheryl, is working all day today, and Craig needs some help looking after the 3 of them. Well, there's one of them in particular, the youngest one. He's a right little devil. So finding things for them to do. It's okay for Frankie, the oldest one. He sat with on his iPad all day. Sat on one of my armchairs all day. We fed him cups of tea, pop, he had their lunch and back on his iPad again. But the other 2, we decided we'd do a little bit of work in my garden. And I had some onions to plant, and I know we're going to get some rotten weather probably Sunday and Monday, so I thought I'll get these onions in, so I'll get the kids to help. Well, the soil's already been turned over once. It just needed a little bit forking over and raking level, and that had enough onions for a couple of rows. So I thought I'll get the kids to help. So we dug it over. The kids helping digging it over. Well, one of them helping, the other one just making a mess everywhere. While we were digging it over, he was trying to bury his cars in it. We got it nicely dug over. And then I got my little doweling stick that I use to make the holes in the soil, and I was showing the 5-year-old Tommy how to put the onions in. And I had to let him know sometime, he planted 1 or 2, and I says, Tommy, we want them growing up in this country, not going down to Australia. Had to show him which end had to go in the soil, and which end had to stick out of the soil. But he got the hang of it, except when his little brother, his 2.5-year-old little brother, was trying to dig up what we had been planting and plant his cars in, or get the fork or what have you, and try to dig up everything we were doing. I picked the wrong time of day for to do something like that with him around, but we managed anyway. And only then, after I had planted them, he decided to start running all over them. So I've got it's like a kind of patio behind my outhouse where we keep all rubbish and things. I had lots of bits of boards, so I found some bits of boards to put over the top of the onions. At least he can run his cars along the top of the boards that I put down, wouldn't destroy what was underneath. But I had to take them off after they went home if it's going to rain, the rain will water them. So I got the onions planted anyway. But between me and Craig, their dad, I had a lot of sweeping up to do afterwards, because we've got a large patio with 4 little squares in that were where I plant flowers. I haven't planted any yet, but I'm going to buy some. I usually grow up my own, but I haven't had time this year, so I'm just going to buy some plants to put in. But that soil was nice and crumbly, and it ended up all over the patio. Somebody was picking it up and throwing it all over the place. And I was trying to show them how you can dig in this bit here. There's nothing going in here yet, but they weren't happy with that. They wanted to be in these squares where this lovely soft soil was. So I managed to get that sorted. We cleaned that up, and then they decided to come into the house and play, because the sun, my garden, you have to follow the sun around the garden, because it starts at one end and goes down. And we're starting to get a bit chilly where the sun had disappeared, so they came into the house. As after they had their lunch, and they were playing with the toys and fighting over this and fighting over that. And it's a good job the house next door to me is empty, because if it hadn't been empty and there had been any people in it, had just moved in, the doors were banging and clashing in my house all day. They would have thought, ooh, what on earth are we going to have to put up with next door? But I think anybody that does move in, I'm going to explain to them that they only come up now and again, my great-grandkids. So if you hear any doors clashing, it'll be when they are here, not when I'm here by myself. But you couldn't get it through to them. You know, my house, I have a living room, a dining room, and they're all interjoined. They can all run through the whole lot. So they're running from the living room, the dining room, into the kitchen, along the passage, and back into the living room again, and clashing every door as they went. And that's what they thought that was great fun. Well, the youngest one did. You know, you could tell the other ones off. They weren't so bad, they stopped doing it, but the younger one didn't. So he was getting wrong all the time, and he ended up on the naughty step most of the day. Like. And another little trick I had to do, had to sellotape my fridge freezer. Well, the older ones are not so bad now. They know, you know, they shouldn't go in and get anything out there. But the younger one thinks he can just go in and help himself to anything. So I put sellotape, a strip of sellotape across my freezer's on the top and the fridge part's on the bottom. So I had a bit of thick sellotape right across the door, the side and the door. So that stopped him going, and he couldn't see the sellotape, and so he didn't know why the door wouldn't open. But the young one thinks he can just go in and help himself to ice lollies and whatever he likes. He does that at home, and they have an awful trouble with him because their freezer's on the bottom, and he just opens the door and helps himself to anything he wants out of the freezer, ice lollies, and he thinks they're just there for him to take any time he wants them. And that was the trouble I had, but mine's better because my freezer's on the top. It works the opposite way around. But one time I did go in the kitchen, and there was milk all over a little mat in front of the fridge. And that was milk all over that because he'd had the milk out of the fridge and the bottom. That was why I decided I was putting sellotape across the door and the side of the fridge to stop him opening the door. He did try to open it, he didn't like it when he couldn't get the door open. So I'm telling my granddaughter, get a roll of sellotape and stick it across the door, it'll stop him getting in. He doesn't know why he can't get in. It saves you all that money you'll pay for a lock to put on your fridge. But when I think about it, when I was a kid, my mother had a fridge, and we used to laugh as we got older because this fridge had a lock on, and my mother could lock it with a key. And sometimes you'd come in from work and you'd want a cup of tea and you couldn't get her in the fridge because she wasn't there. The fridge was locked. And I used to say to her, "Mother, what you got a lock on the fridge for?" She used to say, "Well, I don't really need it now." I said, "Well, what do you lock it for?" She says, "Well, when you have kids of your own, you'll know why there's a lock on the fridge." And I do. I never had that much trouble with my kids. But my granddaughter's kids, well, the youngest one's terrible. I think he can just get anything he likes out of the fridge. But I can say my mother's reason now why she had a lock on the fridge. We were probably going helping now ourselves to whatever we wanted out of the fridge. So that was my hectic day today, and it's just lovely. It's lovely and quiet. The sun's shining into my living room. I'm sitting here with a cup of coffee. I'm having a cup of coffee, peace and quiet. And then I'm going to their house tomorrow. So it's going to be another day. Not be so bad though, because they're not touching everything in my house. Like all my ornaments, they're all out of place. There's none of them where they should have been. I'm going to have to shift all of them and put them back where they belong. Even the doors on my sideboards and the doors in the cupboards in the kitchen have got elastic bands tying them together, so at least when they try to open them, they just bang shut again. They can't. He hasn't worked out how to take the elastic bands off yet. Eddie, how to get into the cupboards and that, because I do keep things like crisps and things like that in and the cupboards that's on the floor, you know, those ones that come up from the floor under the bench. The terror around kids these days. But anyway, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my peace and quiet and just sit here and enjoy my cup of coffee and do a bit more knitting. I'll get a little bit more of this. I'm nearly finished the back on this cardigan. I'm just coming up to the shape in the shoulders. So if you like my video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll let you into anything else that I get around to. So bye for now.